And we're live. So welcome to the 13th edition of the BusyBee Boxing Podcast. Here to bring you news, views, boxing opinions, and banter. Today on the panel we have AO and Magic Money Mike here to give their views and opinions. We're going to do it a bit different today. We've been away for some time. We've been slacking. So we're going to do it a bit different. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a look back at the year of 2018 in boxing. So we're going to give our fighters of the year, our fights of the year, our knockouts of the year, and our special moments of 2018 in boxing. So I don't want to waste too much time boring you with long drawn out intros. All I would say is please support the channel by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing if you're new to the channel as well. So kicking things off, before we kind of go into the details on, fight of the year and fights of the year and stuff like that, just wanted to kind of go around the panel and get everyone's thoughts on how they thought 2018 was compared to 2017 and if it lived up to expectations. So Ayo, over to you first, mate. How was 2018 in boxing for you?
2018 has been a decent year. If you're comparing it to 2017, I actually think 2017 was better. I just feel that there was just a couple better quality fights out there that happened in 2017. I think the Klitschko Joshua fight happened. I think Andre Ward and Kovalev happened. A few rough Dillian White fights. I mean, I'm talking of the heavyweight division, of course, even in the welterweight division as well. I think you had Kell Brook, Golovkin. I think, sorry, guys. I think overall, 2017 was a better fight overall. More fights got made, but that's not to say that 2018 hasn't been a really good year. And we've had some really good humdingers this year, and 2018. I mean, boxing's moving forward. I think, especially with the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division is growing and growing. It's back as the marquee division, because I think for so many years it was the welterweight division that was like the money division, and it still is. I still believe that overall, if you look at two divisions, heavyweight and the welterweight division, I still believe the more talented fighters are in the welterweight division. However, it's now come back that the marquee division is the heavyweight division, simply because there's so much. The Klitschkos have gone, and it's like everyone has just sort of come out of their shell, and we're just seeing a lot more talent come through as well, and that actually leads to my prospect of the year, which I'll bring in later. But being that the heavyweight division is now the marquee division, of course, in the heavyweight division, you're more likely to get a knockout because they're bigger guys, heavier punches. So, I mean, that's what us boxing fans come to see. We want to see people get stretched out and people get, knocked out, show real knockouts, as we call it. And I think boxing's back where it needs to be.
Quick question, Ayo. You said the sport's in a better place. Is there any fights that you were disappointed that weren't made this year, that you were expecting to be made this year from 2017?
Yeah, the one fight is obviously Kell Brook and Amir Khan. I mean, you guys, listeners, subscribers can go on to previous podcasts and they know that I'm a person who sings Amir Khan's praises. I've always backed him. I always feel that he's had a rough deal of things, especially with the media and everything like that. But the fact that, this is just taking so long now, they're underneath the same promotion. They're both underneath Eddie Hearn. They're both British. They're both from the north. They know each other from the amateurs. I honestly don't know why this fight is not being made. Of course, you've got the Joshua Wilder stuff and all of that. That's another one that, we're disappointed. But I still believe that fight is still growing. And I still believe that if that fight happens next year, then it's better. I mean, both fighters are still, I think Joshua is 27 or 26, so he's young. And Wilder's about 31 or 32, I can't remember. So they're still okay. I mean, that fight can still be made. But Kell is 31 and Khan is 31. Kel's on a decline, and he's got 2 titanium plates in his face. You know, he's had a lot of problems out the ring and everything like that. You know, time is running out. And I'll say time is running out for Khan as well, because he's past his best. He's past the time when he schooled Devon Alexander and all of that kind of stuff. That's personally for me, Khan in his pump. So he's past that, but it still can be a good fight right now. And the fact that it's been delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed, it's just taken. I believe that it's not going to be as good a fight as it can be. So that would be the one fight that I'm really upset that hasn't been made yet.
Interesting. Thanks for that, AO. Money Mike, on to you. Same question. What's been your thoughts on this year compared to 2017?
I pretty much echo everything that AO said. Yeah, it hit everything. I agree. I think 2017 was a better year for fights made. Even though, like I said, this year there were still some good fights, but I think 2017 had a better fight quality. Fights to be made, yeah, definitely. As Ayu says, going back on the previous pods, I'm a Kell Brook fan, so me and Ayu's definitely had our fair share of banter regarding them too. But yeah, I think the longer the Kell Brook and Amir Khan takes to get done, it will just lose its appeal, and people will probably just watch it for the sake of watching it because they're both British. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the boxing year this year so far.
Cool. I mean,
obviously, the Wilder and the Joshua fight is got to be made next year. That's the only fight now in the heavyweight division that people want to see. Yeah, obviously Tyson Fury's come back, but obviously we'll touch on that later. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on 2018. I think there could have been a lot more better fights made through the year, but nothing really standed out for me really this year, if I'm perfectly honest with you.
Interesting. So yeah, I mean, for me, kind of echo both your thoughts. I thought that 2017 was a better year for boxing. I thought 2017 was actually an epic year, and I thought going into 2018 there was a lot of momentum and there was some big fights to be made. I feel like some of the opportunities been missed. I know AOU said about the kind of Joshua Wilder fight still building up. I thought that was a fight that could have been made this year, but we'll probably get to that later. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it's been a decent year of boxing. Definitely better than 2016. Not better than 2017 in my eyes. But yeah, a solid, good year of boxing. Let's get to the first kind of award accolade that we're going to hand out tonight. So we've got a few kind of categories to cover, but I thought we'll start with everybody's knockout of the year. I thought this was an interesting one because, you know, we've all been tasked as a panel to go over the footage from this year and look back at the fights that happened, you know, at the beginning of the year and find out, you know, which ones that we liked compared to now. So yeah, let's start with knockout of the year. Ayo, back to you. Interested to know, what's your knockout of the year 2018?
Well, I posted it in the group the other day, and it's got to be like, I mean, it's hard to choose. I mean, because it depends on what kind of knockout you like, innit? Do you like the one where the guy's tongue hanging out, hand on the ropes and everything like that? Like it, how when they fall like a tree flat on their face, like Dylan White did to Lucas Brown, horrible knockout. Or do you like the one like the PlayStation games? And me, I'm a big gamer from back in the day. I don't have a PlayStation at the moment, but I used to bang UFC and Fight Night when I had the PS4. And there was one knockout that just reminded me of my childhood, and that was the David Price against the Povetkin. That knockout was like it was literally like a computer game. Because I don't know, have any of you lot played UFC?
Yeah.
You see when you stun somebody, and then they're like, and the sound changes. It goes do.
Yeah.
It was like
it reminds me of. Do you remember back in the day with the cartoon characters with the stars going above his head?
Exactly. That's exactly what it was like. And then, you know, I think it was Carl Froch that said, you know, when he fought George Groves, the first time, and I think George Rose basically gassed out afterwards. His hands was down and everything, and he mentioned something about. I can see why the referee stopped it, trying to validate why the referee stopped it by saying that he was susceptible to a free shot. He was susceptible for a free shot, and if you're susceptible to if you're allowing a free shot, that's very, very dangerous, and that's exactly what it was. What Povetkin had. Povetkin had a free left hook. His hands was down. Where he was. A complete left hook, money punch right on the button, and the way he fell down with blood coming out of his face and like a full tree. If you saw the way he fell down, his knees didn't bend. He actually just fell down flat like a tree on his back, and
it wasn't great.
It wasn't great, and at the end of the day, we thank God for his safety and that he was able to fight, and I think he's fought twice since then. But I mean, that for me, that is the knockout of the year. It was very close to. I was debating the other knockout that I was thinking was actually, and not many people might actually agree with this, but when Mikey Garcia's comeback fight against Zalichnin, I can't pronounce the guy's name. Zalichnin or whatever his name was. It was Mikey Garcia's comeback fight, and he knocked the guy out quite badly. I thought that was quite a brutal knockout.
Oh, Dejan Zatakanin, that guy.
Yeah. That's it. So that knockout, I watched that.
That was brutal as well.
That was very, very brutal. And I thought for the amount of time he spent out and to knock someone out brutally like that, I thought that was quite impressive. But I'd have to give it to Povetkin knocking out Price. I mean, that was a good one for me.
Cool. No, that was a good one. And before I reveal my pick, that was close, right? Because I watched that knockout. And you're absolutely right. The way he kind of paused, like he was like knocked out, standing up, and then the last punch was just like it was just good night. It was brutal. That came very close to being my pick. Mike, what's your pick for knockout of the year, 2018?
Well, it'd be interesting to see how many things me and AO seem to be agreeing on lately. Because I also had Povetkin versus Price. It was just it was just brutal. But for my second choice, a lot of people may agree, but I went for Dillian's knockout on Chisora.
Oh, okay, that's recent.
That simple fact was, up until that knockout, I had Chisora ahead, and I did put it on the group that I fancied Chisora to win that. But the way Chisora just coming for a punch, and Dillian just threw a sneaky left, and it just hit him right on the chin. It was good night. And when like you're having a dream where your body wants to wake up, the brain just saying, "No, mate, just stay down.
Yeah.
You don't want to do this." And Chisora lifted his head up for like a couple of seconds. He just thought, "No, you know what? I want to get up, but my body's just not having it." And he just fell back down, and it was just like then he just knew it was just like game over. So I'll actually go for give it to Dillian on that one.
So that's two votes. Oh, so you're going with Dylan? Sorry, you're not going.
Yeah. I'm gonna go because I said I was gonna go for Povetkin, but obviously Ayo got in there first, so I'm gonna go with Dillian.
Okay, cool. That's interesting. So yeah. I mean, Dylan. I thought that was a good knockout. Obviously, very recent. Definitely was high on the Povetkin one. Just a few of them that I wanted to call out. So I was doing my research over the last couple of days, just refreshing my memory, and there were some brutal ones. You had Dylan White versus Lucas Brown. I don't know if you remember that left hook that sent Brown down, like flat on the mat. That was brutal. Inoue, the Japanese superstar, his knockout in the World Boxing Super Series, that was brutal. I've got Povetkin versus Price down here. I've also got Elder Alvarez when he knocked out Kovalev. That was pretty brutal. Chisora versus Takam. That was a brutal knockout. I don't know if you remember that one. That was like a overhand right hand that laid out Takam, and then when Takam got up, he hit him with the same shot again. There were some brutal ones I've got down. For me, I'm probably going to go with the most satisfying knockout of the year, which was Alexander Usyk starching Tony Bellew.
Oh my God! You know what? That was another one. I tell you what. I was actually looking at that one the other day, and I was like, you know what? Let me just allow Tony Bellew because it's tight.
No, because I was going to go with
a horrible knockout.
I did feel about Bellen's two knockouts of Hayfaker. Just simple the fact is I don't like Hayfaker, and I've made it well known. So
Do you know,
yeah, I thought the way he fell down was quite amusing.
do you know what? I couldn't resist. Like Tony Bellew, everybody knows that I hate the guy. Obviously, he's done well in his career. Like I'll give Tony Bellew a lot of credit because he's been ruled out and knocked back so many times in his career. He picked a perfect opportunity to fight David Haye twice when no one saw the victory there for him. He obviously won the WBC title when it was vacant. He's obviously done a great career, but that, when he stepped up against Usyk and he was talking all that smack, he didn't want that smoke. And when Usyk was just biding his time, jab, jab, jab. He knew it was he knew what he was doing. He was playing the long game. He was wearing out Tony's little legs. And then when the opportunity presented itself, similar sort of knockout to the Povetkin Price, in the sense that when he got hit with the first left hand, you actually saw Tony Bellew be knocked out, standing up. And then the last one was just good night. That was beautiful, man. I love that. That was a great shot. And Usyk's one of my obviously favorite fighters. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I think sorry guys, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, yeah, we're still here.
Sorry. Cut out for a sec. Yeah, so I think as a unanimous choice, we should probably go with
Povetkin
versus Price. I think Ayo, you're guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I think we should go with that pick. I think that's probably the most sensible pick. I think that was the most brutal knockout of 2018. So on to the next category. So we had knockout of the year. Want to move on to prospects of the year 2018. Mike, over to you. You kick things off. Who's your prospect of 2018 and why?
This one was a bit of a tough one for me, but again, not many people might agree. But I'm going to go with Joshua Buatsi. I think he had a good year. He had some good fights, and being in the right stable, I think he's looking good for next year. I think there's some big things to come from him next year. Every time I've seen him fight, he's been decent. Nothing spectacular, but I think there's still a lot more to come from him. And he's young, and yeah, I think he's a brilliant prospect for next year. I think.
That's a good shout. I mean, I'm big on Buatsi. There was a period in his, I don't know if it was his second or third fight, maybe his fourth fight. I was looking at him and was thinking, is he stagnating? Maybe he's too small for the division. Yeah. But of late, he seems to have stepped up, and I'm looking forward to him fighting some of the domestic guys in that division.
Because if I remember rightly, ain't he in Joshua's stable?
Yeah, so I think he signed to Joshua's management team
with Coley.
With the Cody, as well.
I think he's done well this. I think, like I said, every time I've seen him this year, he seems to have gotten better and better. Like you said, after his fourth one, when he thought okay, is he right for the division? But no, his last couple of fights, he's moving in the right direction. And I think with the right stable and the right backing, I think he's got a big future for next year. I think. Yeah,
he's certainly someone I rate highly, and he's definitely the pick of the 2016 Olympians from Britain. So yeah, that's a good shout, and definitely looking forward to maybe him facing Anthony Yarde next year as well. That would be a good scrap. So we got Buatsi, 1 vote. Ayo, what's your thoughts? Who's your prospect of the year?
No, I echo that. I mean, I'm a big Buatsi fan, actually, to be honest. I've obviously been a Ghana.
Hey, you stop it. We're agreeing on too many things, man.
No. It's scary, man. But yeah, no, Buatsi, I do echo that. But my actual prospect of the year, who I'm actually looking forward, is a certain person called Daniel Dubois.
Oh, that's interesting.
Good shot.
I think. Obviously, heavyweight division, as I said, I've echoed the heavyweight divisions becoming, more people are coming out of their shell. I don't know if you guys have sort of been following Daniel Dubois, but I have. He's really, really young. I think he's 19 or 20. He must be 20 by now, actually. But I mean, the guy is absolutely huge. I mean, of course, you've got those rumors that he gave Joshua trouble in sparring and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't know if you lot saw an interview on IFL when he actually, body language says a lot. And when he was asking him the questions, it was like, obviously he's not allowed. He's been brief not to say anything. But being a bit young and immature, he kind of gave it away. And from what I think he did cause Joshua problems, possibly put him down. Who knows? He's got 9 KOs, nine wins, eight KOs, and he hasn't really fought anyone of any name except Kevin Johnson, who's obviously now a journeyman and everything like that. But he's underneath Frank Warren. Frank Warren's trying to build him up to be the next Anthony Joshua. Now, talent-wise, I believe he is better than Anthony Joshua, or he can be better than Anthony Joshua. But personality-wise and appeal to the media, no. Anthony Joshua is special in that regards, and the fact that, not only does he have good looks, but at the same time, he's really, really engaging when he talks. And Anthony Joshua knows how to talk a good game and get people listening. And Boatsy doesn't have that. So that's why he will never be as big as Anthony Joshua in that kind of regards. But in talent-wise, I'm looking forward to see him step up because he's fought nobody besides. The only person I can see on his record is Kevin Johnson. I didn't watch the fight, but I mean, saw highlights of it, and he put him away. But it's just one of those things where I feel that I'm looking forward to seeing him take it up to the next level, at least get to like European level, and then maybe in 2020 he can start challenging for a world title because I think he can do things.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Daniel Dubois, dangerous. What's he? Triple D, isn't it? Triple D.
Triple D, yeah. Triple D. Dynamite.
I was hot on Dubois, and then I wasn't too sure because I know obviously Kevin Johnson took him the distance, right? And then I was like, I don't know, is he overhyped? But Kevin Johnson's a bit of a difficult one. I know AJ, dispatched him pretty quick. But then he's gone on to like fight a few more people. He's gone the distance with a few solid contenders. So yeah, actually Dubois is a good shout. I'll accept that. That's a pretty good one. My pick for prospect of the year was interesting, the same as Mike's. We don't tend to agree too much, Mike, but I went for Joshua Boatsy as well. It was a bit of a tricky one because I was trying to look on like the world scene and there was a few names, but there was no real standout contender. I think when we done this podcast last year, we went for Gervonta Davis, I think. But there was no real like Gervonta Davis standout star, I felt globally, who was like really standing out as a prospect. So I went for Boatsy purely because he's solid, he's compact, he's a pick of the 2016 Olympians. He looks like he's moving along well. If I compare him, and I make the comparison to Anthony Yard, I feel like Boatsy's being managed better than Yard. I feel like Yard is getting a lot of kind of easy fights against like dustbin men from Bulgaria and Hungary, and Boatsy's actually going in with some live opponents. I think they've actually got a mutual opponent now as well, which is interesting. But yeah, looking forward to Boatsy getting a few more opportunities. I definitely think he can win a European title next year. I don't know if he's ready for the world title because unfortunately that light heavyweight division, man, there's some fucking killers in there. Like they're no jokes, man. Like you've got the Russians in there, the likes of Beterbiev and Bivol, and then you've got like Alvarez, who just obviously smoked Kovalev, and then you've got the guy Gvozdyk, the Ukrainian guy who smoked Stevenson and left him in a coma. So that division is no joke. Like that, there's some serious killers there. When you step up, there's nowhere to hide. So it'll be interesting to see what Boatsy can do next year. Moving on swiftly. So we've done knockout of the year. We've done prospect of the year. I wanted to talk about fight of the year, and I hand this over to you again, Ayo, to go first. What's your fight of the year and why? Because we've had some good ones this year, but I just wanted to know what's your kind of standout fight of the year, 2018.
You know what? This was actually the toughest one for me because I was just there has been quite a few good fights. I actually haven't really landed on one at this point. I actually feel
There's been some good ones. I had a look back over the list, And I was like, oh wow, did that happen this year? Like, for example, Groves Eubank happened this year. Like,
Oh wow.
and that seemed like ages ago.
But you see, that's the thing, you see, because for me to judge as a fight of the year, I want it to be competitive. And Groves Eubank wasn't competitive.
No, it wasn't.
Groves just smashed him through. I mean, people might, another one that's happened recently would be Fury Wilder, but I personally feel, even though people will say, "Oh, fight of the year," but Fury boxed the hell out of him for the full 12 rounds. Yes, you had the knockouts and everything like that, but I don't actually feel that fight was competitive. Like, for example, I know on the last podcast, my fight of the year for 2017 was Kovalev Ward.
That was a good fight.
That was a good fight. Like, come on.
Yeah,
like,
I went with the Gale and Badu Jack last year.
do you know
That
what I
was a
mean? Like,
war.
you know when two fighters are they're on it on the day, and
it was a tough one.
You know, they go in, but I can't think of. I don't know if you guys can help me, but I honestly can't think of any fight where two of them were at that similar level and they punched the hell out of it and one got the decision by margin.
I mean, I'm the same, AU. I mean, I had to think long and hard about it, but the best I could come up with was Chisora and White. I know it's recent, but going on the first one, that was brutal. I think that was my second fight of the year last year behind Badu Jack and James de Gale. But yeah, I just went with White and Chisora, A, because it was recent, 2, it was a good fight. I mean, from the first bell, they was both at it again. I still think the first fight was better, but that was a hard one. But I ended up going with White and Chisora just for that simple fact.
Yeah.
But there's not really been a standout fight where I thought wicked. I mean, last year, like I said, my top pick was Badu Jack and De Gale. That was a war. That was a
great fight.
Brutal war. Yeah. I mean, it was that bad. De Gale lost his tooth and he even had the audacity to show the camera as well. I mean, that was just an out-and-out battering. But this year, even though there's been some good fights, but nothing's actually stood out and think, yeah, that fight was top. So
yeah,
what I will say, if I had to pick one, and this is me picking one, and I actually didn't. I mean, this was a good fight, and again, similar level, but it would have to be Alvarez and GG, Triple G. Would be.
Yeah, that was a good fight. I had that on my list as well.
Yeah, I would have to go for that one. But even though I don't feel that it deserves it, but that's what comes to mind.
I don't know. I couldn't decide when I was looking at that fight. I couldn't decide whether I felt like what fight was better, number 1 or number 2. Number 2, Canelo was on the front foot more. I don't know. It was a tricky one for me, and I get the point. Like, it was hard to call out a fight. The ones that I had on the list. So I had Wilder versus Fury because I thought just the whole spectacle, the drama, the story behind it. It was a big fight. It was a great fight. I had Canelo Triple G number 2. I also had Jarrett Hurd versus Erizandi Lara. I thought that was a good fight. That was a war.
that was a good fight.
That was a war. I forgot about that fight, and then I saw it. And I was like, actually, that was a good fight. I had Carl Frampton, Josh Warrington.
I thought that as well.
I thought that was a good fight. And I also had I had 2 more. I had Ortiz Wilder. I thought that was actually probably not.
No, that was a good fight. It was a good fight in the fact that Ortiz had Wilder in serious trouble in the 12th. I watched that fight. I stayed up late to watch that fight, so that fight stays with me, bro, because I don't like staying up late to watch those fights. But that fight was actually quite a good fight. I ain't gonna lie, that was quite a good fight. I mean, on another day, Ortiz could have easily have won that.
Yeah. The bell saved him.
True.
I also had Charlo versus what's his name? His recent fight. Harrison, yeah. Charlo and Harrison was a good, not a bad fight. It wouldn't made fight of the year, but it was a good little scrap.
Yeah, that was a decent fight. Obviously, Charlo's tears post-fight was a bit of a
and then
joke.
What he said afterwards, knowing his brother was up next kind of thing. So I thought that was... we'll get onto that.
Yeah. I'm going to... you know what? I'm going to pick... I'm going to go with Wilder Fury, which sounds like a bit of a casual vote, but I just think the drama around that fight, like the fact that Fury was, coming back from a two-year layoff, we all know about his documented problems, comes back, boxes the head off Wilder, gets dropped twice. 12th round looked like he was gone. For me, that fight was just because it's heavyweights and the division's back. That was fight of the year for me. So yeah, that interesting. Moving on, I just wanted to give a few shout outs on some categories that I didn't share with the team. Stink of the year, I was going to give to Cody versus Chamberlain. I don't know if you guys remember that fight.
Oh my god!
My god! We went
that
to that fight. We went to that
Bro,
fight.
That they called that fight British beef. It should have been British or British.
That fight was so mild.
So bad.
And when that fight ended, it got to the 7th, 8th round, and I just lost complete interest in that. That fight was so bad.
Really
I've never watched it again. I haven't watched it again.
No, you can't watch it again unless you're getting paid to do that. There's no point.
I paid to go and watch that, and I thought to myself, what a waste of money. I walked out the O2 thinking, what a waste. But hey,
you went to see it, Mike, didn't you? Bloody hell. Yeah, I remember that.
It's like being at the dentist, man.
No, that was bad. That was like a hug fest. To be honest, I blame a lot of it on Okoli. I think they were both nervous as well. There was a lot of nerves. There was a lot of smack talking. But I was expecting a great fight, and it was just lots of hugging. And to be honest, Okoli this year, right? It hasn't been a great year for Okoli. I mean, he had that hug fest against Chamberlain, and then it happened again against was it Askins? Similar sort of thing, just hugging, sloppy work. I don't know.
I hit you, then we'll hug.
I know, Ayo, you're obviously you kind of obviously have your finger on the pulse when it comes to Okoli, but I don't know. I feel like he needs to 2019. He needs to go away, put the hours in the gym, because
he needs to shut up. That's what he needs to do. He needs to shut up. Honest to God, he talks the most. And I mean,
if he could fight as good as he talks, it'd be dangerous.
He doesn't even talk good. That's how bad it is, though.
That's
doesn't even talk good. He just talks a lot of crap. You know what I mean? And I think we saw him. Remember, Jason? We saw him in Brentwood when we went to see David Price.
Yeah.
We saw him bouncing around like some kind of headless chicken, looking like a big man and everything like that. Do you know what I mean? He's just a complete twat. And I feel sometimes ashamed to say that he was actually from my road. Like literally from my road, not even from my area, from my road. I've seen Lawrence Okoli when he was on my road in Sheffield.
Don't shout that too big.
You know what I mean? So I mean, that's why I didn't even put him in consideration for prospect of the year, because he's just like
he wouldn't even make my top 10.
But the thing is, his boxing record, and he's got everything there for him. He's got knockouts to his name. He's known now. So he's got everything laid out in front of him, but I just don't see him making it to the top. Honestly, I can't. No. He's going to get found out along the way, and it'll probably be his mouth that lets him down as well.
Yeah, I just think Okoli, he's got all the kind of natural attributes, right? He's big, he's tall, he's strong, but he's got chicken legs. He fights like a small man, and he just he smothers his own work. When you see him, it's just instead of using distance and using the jab and setting up all the power shots of the jab, he just I don't know, that fight against Chamberlain was just a joke. And then when I see him do it against Askin, I was like, oh my gosh. And then he got slaughtered on Twitter, and he came out the next day and he's like, I realize I've got a lot of learning to do and stuff. But then he talks a lot. And unfortunately for Mr. Okoli, that cruiserweight division, there's nowhere to hide. It's just nowhere to hide in that division. Anywhere there's a division where you've got these hungry Eastern Europeans who are big and strong, and they don't care about the hype. They just want to fight. There's nowhere to hide. And you put Okoli in against anybody who entered the World Boxing Super Series, the first edition. And he gets iced. He gets iced by everybody. I'm not even gonna mention Usyk's name in the same breath with Cody, but I'm saying everyone else, he gets iced bad, knocked out, unconscious. So I just wanted to put that out there as the stink of the year. Definitely Okoli versus Chamberlain, and probably Lawrence Okoli in general, just for some bad performances. Also, disappointment of the year. So this was from a global perspective. I put Gervonta Davis. And the reason why I put Gervonta Davis is because last year when we done this podcast, we sat here and we said
he was my prospect of the year. He was
a prospect of the year based on the body of work that he put out in 2017 and the belts he won. And this year, I don't know if you guys feel the same, but it's just been a complete waste. Like what has Gervonta Davis done this year?
No, I feel the same. But I don't feel it's his fault. I feel that, I don't know if you lot have seen the interviews, but he's underneath Mayweather. He's got a contract with Mayweather, and Mayweather is just doing as he pleases. I think there was a little issue with him fighting Lomachenko and Mayweather trying to put him in with Lomachenko so quickly, which was too early. I feel that Mayweather doesn't want Gervonta to succeed because I think Mayweather can see the talent and can see that Gervonta Davis is going to be a wonderful, wonderful fighter. But I think basically what I'm saying here is I feel that the fact that he's still underneath Mayweather and some Mayweather Promotions, whatever he calls himself, or Money Team or whatever, I feel that's holding him back. So I don't actually feel that it's his fault. I feel that when he has fought this year, and I know he's fought I think once or twice this year, he's performed. So I'll give him some credit on that case. I actually don't feel that it's his fault. And it was a similar situation to I think Andre Ward a couple of years ago when when fighters go underneath, they're underneath the wrong promotion or they're underneath the wrong manager, and it holds them back, and then they just go into this wilderness sort of thing. I feel that's what's happened with Gervonta Davis, so I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got some well-documented problems with Floyd. Obviously, Floyd's out in Japan tonight, isn't he? Is it tonight? No, it's tomorrow night. It's New Year's. Yeah, it's New Year's Eve. It's
exhibition fight.
That exhibition fight.
Tokyo, or somewhere like Japan, somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's behind closed doors as well. Apparently,
apparently, 3 rounds, 3 minute, 3 rounders.
Well, I read something the other day that it's they're not going to stream it in the US, which is a bit weird. I don't know what's going on, but credit to Floyd. Look, Floyd can do an exhibition match and earn a 7-figure payday. So
how much is he getting paid for that?
I think I heard something around was it like $20 million, something like that?
For 3 rounds.
Yeah, just
for 9 minutes work. 9 minutes work.
And the guy's I think the guy's a kickboxer or UFC boxer by trade. So mixed martial arts. So yeah, sorry. And
they're because it's not being sanctioned as an official fight, none of their records are on the line. So it's not going to be counted.
It's a sparring match. I wouldn't be surprised if they're wearing headgear as well. It's just ridiculous. But credit to Floyd. Look, you can't knock the guy. He's worked hard in his career. If he wants to go and earn that, credit to him. So, back on Gervonta. I think to your point, AO. I think he needs to kind of sort out his promotional issues. He just had a fight. He just had a fight announced the other day. He's going to be fighting Abner Mares, who is a former. What's Abner Mares? Was he a featherweight champion? He's coming off a couple of losses though. He lost a few times to Leo Santa Cruz, but obviously they're feeding him to Gervonta Davis. I expect Gervonta Davis to dispatch him pretty easily, being the bigger guy, bigger puncher. But I just feel like he needs to sort out his career. I know he's chasing that Tevin Farmer fight, but he needs to do something different. He needs to change it up, Gervonta Davis. We gave him so much credit last year for his wins against Pedraza and Walsh. And now this year it seems like it's just stalled. But it's not a great look. But let's move on anyway. So we've talked about a few categories. The category I wanted to move on to next is British Fight of the Year. So this is not Global Fight of the Year, official BusyBee Boxing Fight of the Year. This is specifically British Fight of the Year. And I wanted to pass this on to you, Money Mike, first, just to call out your British Fight of the Year 2018 and why, mate.
I went for Dillian White.
That's interesting.
Simple fact is, I've never known anyone to be 3 mandatory challenges in 3 different sanctions in 1 year before, and he's been dealt a bad hand. He's took a few. Well, he should have had a title shot a long time ago, and since the Joshua fight 2 years ago, he's won every fight. He's unbeaten, and everyone he's asked to put in front of him, he's fought and he's beat. All right, he's not the most eye-catching fighter on the eye, but from where he's come from and where he is now and what he wants to do, I'll give it to Dillian White because, like I said, he has everyone that he's been put in front of him, he's dealt with. He's not gone running up his mouth. He's only run up his mouth when he's come to fight the person. So, on a few reasons, I'm gonna give it to Dillian.
Because that's a solid choice.
He was WBC mandatory, and then he got shafted on that one, and then overnight Dominic Brazil come WBC. How the hell that happened, I have no idea, because I just think he's in obviously Wilder stable. Then he was the WBO mandatory, and then he got screwed over with that. With who was WBO? I can't remember who was they made mandatory for the WBO, and then a month later he's mandatory from the IBF, and yet he didn't get one title shot at either one of them. So yeah, for that reason and a few others, I'm gonna go for Dillian.
That's a good choice. And if I look at his, quickly look at his box rec, obviously we talked about the Lucas Brown knockout earlier. That was a solid win. I know the condition that Lucas Brown come into the ring was disgraceful, but he was a former champion, whether or not you think he was under the influence of drugs at that time. So he then went on to beat Joseph Parker. That was a good fight. That was a really good fight. And then finished off the year with Derek Chisora. So you could actually say black and white. He's beat 2 former world champions and a former top 10 contender this year.
And still begging a title fight.
And that's a solid year. Plus you added the fact that against across 2 or 3 governing bodies, he's number 1 contender. So I'll take that. That's a solid pick. Ayo, who's your pick for British Fight of the Year and why, mate?
Mate, it's hard not to disagree with what Michael just said, because it was out of 2. I know it's scary. He's out of 2 boxers. Dillian Whyte was one of them, but and of course Dillian Whyte 100%. I mean, the activity this year, 3 fights this year, as you said, and in all of the fights, Lucas Brown, disgusting knockout. I think he performed better against Parker than what Joshua did with Parker, and he's knocked out. He settled the score with Derek Chisora finally, again after a very competitive fight once again. So it's hard not to disagree with him, but I will disagree this time. And my British Fighter of the Year is actually Josh Warrington.
That's my pick as well. I was just gonna throw that in.
Yeah,
good shot.
I'm not gonna. I mean, the reason why is because I'm not going to say I'm a big advocate of Josh Warrington, or I've followed his career intensely, but what he's done this year, I personally think has been quite amazing, to be honest with you, simply because he's fought Lee Selby and Carl Frampton, and he's beat both of them.
Yeah.
Now, Lee Selby was very, very highly rated, very slippery guy. They even called him the Welsh Mayweather or something like that. Do you know what I mean? At one point. Very, very slippery guy, world champion as well, and he beat him. Then he goes on just the other night, and again, as we said, possible contender for Fight of the Year, beats Carl Frampton, who's no mug as well. Now, those 2 people in the space of a year, for me, I think you have to get the role. I mean, I agree. Dillian has been more active, had 1 more fight than him, and the opponents that Dillian Whyte has fought ain't no mugs as well. Bar, you could put an argument to say Lucas Brown, but Josh Warrington, for me, he's got to be the British Fighter of the Year. He's been the performances and his dedication to the sport and everything like that. I just feel that he deserves it.
Yeah, and I completely agree. Ayo. I picked Josh Warrington as well. If you look at Josh Warrington, obviously he was with Matchroom, and they were trying to make that Selby fight on Sky. There was rumours at the time that Josh didn't really want it. Eddie didn't want to put him in with Selby because Selby had gone over to Al Heyman. It was very murky waters, so many different grey areas there. He then moves to Frank Warren. Frank Warren then says, look, I'll build you up and get you the title shots. Gets him the match against Selby, absolutely dominates Selby. And yes, Selby was probably dead at the weight, but Warrington still had to go and do the job. And the way he fought in a way where a lot of people didn't think he could fight that way. I didn't think he could fight that technical. Like he basically fought that fight with educated pressure. He used lots of movement, high energy. It was a masterclass that he put on against Selby that night. Then the fight got made against Frampton. I'm a massive Frampton fan. I thought Frampton probably had enough to beat him, but I was worried about how much Frampton had left in the tank. And I put a bet on for Warrington to win by a split decision, and obviously he won by unanimous, so I was a bit pissed off. But the way once again he applied himself in the Frampton fight, which was a massive fight. You look at those two names, Selby and Frampton. They're two of the biggest names globally, not just on the British scene, in that featherweight division, and he's dispatched them. So for me, he's right at the top, right near the top of the featherweight division. You've got Leo Santa Cruz, who went life and death with Frampton twice. Obviously, got the decision the second time around, lost the first fight. And then you've got Gary Russell Jr., who that guy is just a joke. He's a diva. He's just I don't rate him at all. So you've got Josh Warrington in there. You could argue that he's probably, him and Santa Cruz are 1 and 2 in the division. So he's done great stuff, and I wish him nothing but the best. I think the way he's applied himself, as you said, AO, the aggression he brings, the intensity he brings, but also the boxing skill and IQ, he deserves it. And his 2019 now, he's got some massive fights ahead. They're talking about doing some more Ellen Road fights as well. Obviously, he's got a whole city behind him in Leeds. And if Frank's able to pay the money to get the likes of Leo Santa Cruz and Oscar Valdez and Gary Russell Jr. over for unifications, Josh Warrington could be a household name. So, he's definitely my solid pick for British Fight of the Year 2018. Obviously, Dylan White had a great year as well, but I think Josh Warrington just edges it for me. On to the fighter of the year globally, not just the British fighter. So the fighter of the year. So the person that you feel
you've missed out one. You've missed out one. Comeback of the year.
Comeback of the year. Sorry, thanks for that, Ale. Comeback of the year. So before we get into fight of the year, comeback of the year. Now, there's some obvious picks here. I'm going to let the guys, you shoot ahead with it. Mike, over to you. Who's your comeback of the year? Either in a fight or just overall in general. Comeback of the year 2018, mate, and why?
There's only one winner for me, and that's Tyson Fury. I don't know if it's the obvious, but simple fact is 2 years out the ring, nearly 30 stone, to shed all that weight and go through the emotional dramas that he's done with depression, the drugs, the illness that he's got, and then to go in with one of the hardest hitters in the division, unbeaten, to outbox him for literally 9 rounds, bar the 2 knockouts that I gave Wilder, scored in 3 rounds. He outboxed Wilder hands down. I mean, I'm not a big Tyson Fury fan, but you got to give credit where credit's due. He pissed all over Wilder, pissed all over him. And the knockout, it was brutal. And just to wake up and just get up when everyone said it was just impossible, he's proved that he can take Wilder's power, and not a lot many people did. And for that reason, yeah, you got to give it to Tyson Fury. I don't see how you can't really. That's just that is it. Wilder.
Ayos, do you agree with that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you can't not disagree with that. And it's not just for what he's done in the ring, because I mean, with Fury, he fought those 2, let's say doormen or bouncers, and he didn't look great in both of the fights, even though there was an improvement from the first bouncer to the second bouncer. But people were still saying that he's not ready. I called it, and I said that I thought that Fury would beat Wilder because I've still got my reservations on Wilder, even though some people might not disagree. I think I've made it known in previous podcasts, but I called it, and he put on a great performance. But it's not what he's done only in the ring; it's outside the ring as well. Because I mean, like me, I used to be 12 stone. I'm 14 stone at the moment, and for me to lose that flipping 2 stone, I've taken the best part. Babe, how long have I been trying to lose weight for? Since we got together. Exactly. You hear that? He went up to like 28 stone or whatever he was, and ridiculous, lost all that weight, the mental health issues, the this, the that. He was in a really bad place, and he's given a few interviews that they actually used at my recruitment, my old job at the recruitment agency, where he given a very, very nice speech about coming back from mental health issues, and and all of that, because we recruit doctors who help people with mental health issues, and they're saying, if the heavyweight champion is talking like this, then anyone can do it, and all the rest of it. So he's really put himself in a good light. I mean, he doesn't talk, he talks a lot of smack and everything, but he backs it up in the ring. And what I will say to Tyson Fury is that they need to do the rematch with Wilder next. I feel that needs to be next. Joshua can wait now. I'd rather see a rematch of that, to be honest with you, rather than the Joshua fight right now. And yeah, he's definitely, he's only one choice, and I think it has to be unanimous. Tyson Fury for comeback of the year.
I mean, the way he schooled Wilder was ridiculous. He just outboxed him. I mean, I only gave Wilder 3 rounds. From round 1 to 6, he outboxed
And that's
him.
why I've always said with Wilder, and I've said it so many times, he's technically not great. And you guys will always argue that, you know what, he's improved. But it just shows you that what Tyson Fury did to him. I mean, he couldn't even get near Tyson Fury. Yes, of course he hit him. And when he does hit somebody, you're gonna go down. But I mean, honestly, like, technically, I don't rate him as a boxer, and you saw the reasons why in that fight.
I can't see what Wilder's going to do different, even if they have a rematch. I think Tyson Fury will do the same again, but a better job, because he'd have longer to prepare. And Tyson Fury's proven that he can take Wilder's punch and still get up. So it's the pressure's on now is on Wilder if the rematch gets done, because it's going to be like, well, your equalizer has no punishment for Fury. He can take that. You can't outbox Fury. So what you're going to do? I still think
it's a 50-50 fight, Michael, because what it is that even though you're saying that he took his punch, yes, he took his punch, but on another day, mate, it could be like, it was so close to lights out. And the question is can Fury avoid Wilder's punch for 12 rounds? And I'm not sure if I can convincingly say yes, he can.
No. Agree.
Exactly. And if he lands, then, you know, it might be lights out. So I still see it as a 50-50 fight, but I'd still go for Fury, but do you know what I mean? It's still a close fight, simply because Wilder's that one-trick pony with the right hand.
Yeah,
he is literally a one-trick pony. But yeah, go on.
No, I'm saying he's got a puncher's chance. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree, guys. I mean, it's obvious. Comeback of the year is Tyson Fury. I mean, I think every boxing journal out there has given that title. I think the skills, just the will, the kind of story around the mental health that you mentioned, like, it's very inspirational. Like, he was in a dark place. Whether you think or not, he was on performance enhancing drugs. You know, en route to victory against Klitschko. Clearly this time he wasn't, because obviously he was tested by VADA as part of the WBC's clean boxing program, and he'd done a great job. And for me, he should have got the decision. And I think, to your point as well, Ao, about, you know, wanting to see the rematch first, absolutely. I think a special shout out, I was going to do a promoter of the year category, but I think we kind of left it. But I think if I was going to do it, I was going to pick someone, I'll probably pick Frank Warren, because I think he's played the blinder this year. In that he's obviously signed up Fury when Eddie Hearn wanted Tyson Fury, and he's put him in a match that he could have easily got knocked out. He could have been sparked out, and that's it. He would have sailed into the sunset and never would have heard from Tyson Fury again. But now it's almost like Tyson Fury has become the people's champion, and it's put a lot of pressure on AJ, Matchroom, and their fanboys to deliver something substantial on April the 13th. Now, we know they're not going to get the Wilder match. We know that's not going to happen, because Wilder wants to basically keep AJ out of the picture and rematch Fury, and it could be a trilogy. Who knows? It could be a trilogy.
I think that's got billion AJ written all over it.
Well, there was an interview the other day where Eddie said it's 80% Dylan White. I would say it's 100% Dylan White. I would say the contract signed. What they're trying to do now, it's all about smoke and mirrors and damage limitation. What's funny is if you follow on Twitter, so if you follow Barry Hearn on Twitter, like, he's like one of these old men that sometimes someone hands him a phone and he writes something stupid and they have to take the phone away from him, because he lets out these little nuggets which let you know that Wilder's not on the radar for them. He made a comment the other day. He said, "Oh, you know, we'll put Joshua in with Wilder when we feel he's ready," or something like that. Just little snippets here and there would let you know that Barry Hearn's in control of the kind of ship there, and they make the ultimate decisions based on what they feel, and it's not what Joshua wants. So it's interesting now, because obviously we know we're going to get that Dylan White on April the 13th. But what they're trying to do is make it seem like Wilder's the coward. Wilder never wanted
Well,
to fight. He doesn't want to fight.
I think it's all to do with money. Because I don't know if you saw Joshua went over to America to boost his profile recently.
I saw that interview on First Take. I didn't think he came across too well.
He didn't. It wasn't his best interview. I'll put it like that. But he did let out some juicy information, and I think he let out the split, and the split that he's going for. He's saying that the Wilder fight the split is 87 or 88. Let's call it 85-15. Now his argument is this. His argument is like, listen, 85-15. If you get 15%, this is the most money you've ever made. This is more money. I'm offering you more money than you've made with the Fury fight. So why are you turning it down? But Wilder's like, nah, I want at least 75-25 at least. Like even that's a muggage. But it's all about money. It's all about greed. Joshua's typical. These Nigerians coming out of him now. He's like, you know what? Every penny counts. Do you know what I mean? Tesco's and Asda and that. Every penny counts. Ding ding. And he's like, nah.
I was having the same conversation with my friend at work before Christmas. Even if the Wilder fight versus Fury gets made, say, I don't know, say February. Even if Wilder, let's say Wilder does win that fight. He's not guaranteed to be ready in 8 weeks' time to take on a massive unification fight with AJ.
That won't happen. That won't happen.
No,
that'll be at Christmas. That will be at November or Christmas.
That's October, November, and like next year.
Because Joshua's going to fight in April, and then the next time he's going to fight is going to be November or December. Joshua only fights twice.
So even if they're looking, what I've been reading, they want to get the rematch made like ASAP. Frank wants this like done and dusted by the end of like.
I think the rematch should happen. I think the rematch should happen.
AJ, the rematch should happen.
The rematch should happen. What should happen is the rematch between Fury and Wilder should definitely happen because it was such a good fight and a draw means nothing. That needs to be settled.
Yeah.
AJ should knock out Dylan White again, and then that makes the fight bigger. And then
excuse for November.
Then no excuse for November. Whoever wins out of Fury and Wilder, Joshua fights them for the undisputed title. End of. That sorts
at the end of the year, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. No more excuses. Because in the day, what else can? Whether Wilder's got the belt still, then all roads lead to Wembley end of the year.
Because I actually think now,
like a dog.
I actually think now, that the Fury fight is bigger for Joshua. The Fury fight is now bigger than the Wilder fight.
Yeah, of course
it is. Yeah, it is.
Because if Fury wins it, then it's an all winner. British
all British undisputed.
Yeah, history. You're the first man to hold all four belts. You're the first.
That's never ever been done.
Never been done. So
stadium fight and that.
If Fury wins, that takes on a massive new chapter.
Yeah.
Frank Warren, as I said, I feel he's played a blinder, and I've looked at a few of because I used to be a big fan of IFL TV. I used to watch a lot of their videos, but these days I've realised it's turned into like a political platform for Eddie Hearn to just feed us lies and bullshit.
Yeah, because if by throwing Fury against Wilder, win or lose, it's put Fury back in the limelight. If Fury wins, Frank Warren's laughing.
Exactly, and I think as well. So if you look at the Fury situation, because Eddie Hearn gave an interview the other day, and I think Kugan Cassius was like, "Oh, what are you interested in fighting Fury now?" And they're like, "Well, AJ's goal and desire is to be the unified champion of the world, and Fury doesn't hold a belt, so we're not really interested in fight." What they're trying to do is, you know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get to the belt before Fury and Frank Warren do, because they know 100%. If Frank Warren and Fury get their hands on that WBC, it's on their terms. They will make it on their terms. And BT have enough financial clout now to make it on their terms. They will happily keep that WBC belt over on BT Sport and defend it against all of Al Heyman's stable, basically. Idiots. The Dominic Brazils and that's what Eddie Hearn and AJ don't want. That's why they're trying to, all of a sudden now, when that interview that you referred to on US TV, the offer's gone up now. They've doubled the offer because they know, this is what pissed me off. Only after Fury took the risk and rolled the dice, now they know Wilder's beatable. They weren't showing this energy and hunger to make the fight last year when it was like, we don't know how that fight will play out. Now they've seen the job that Fury's done in him. Now they want Fury's leftovers. And that's what I fucking hate. Because just the same with Vladimir Klitschko. Fury dances around him, doesn't obviously knock him out, but puts on a boxing clinic in Germany in his backyard. And then AJ takes his leftovers. And then everyone's saying, oh, AJ is the unified undisputed champion. Fury's gone over to USA to fight Wilder, the dangerous puncher, perceived dangerous puncher in the world. Schools him, gets knocked down. All of a sudden, AJ wants to fight Eddie Hearn. They're all hungry for the fight. They weren't desperate for the fight a couple months ago. They were saying that, oh no, like we've got options, or Wilder's only worth a flat fee of $15 million. Now they've seen the job Fury's done on him. Now they're prepared to pay him $25 million. So all you're seeing now from Matchroom and Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn is they're effectively just trying to buy the belt. That's all they're doing. They're trying to give Wilder as much money as possible to lure him to come to the UK to get knocked out, because they know if Fury wins the rematch, Fury's already come out in a few interviews and said they're going to have to pay me a ridiculous amount, because to your point, Ao, that fight now is bigger than a Wilder fight. Fury versus AJ at Wembley is a bigger fight than Wilder versus AJ, because everyone's seen the job that Fury done on Wilder. Everyone knows it's a bigger fight.
The split between Fury and Joshua is going to have to be a little bit more even. Not like
this is the thing, and that's a great point. Sorry to interrupt. That's a great point. That's a great point
50-50 or 60-40 to somebody.
It won't be 50-50 because AJ still got the AJ.
Yeah,
because AJ still got the bigger commercial value than Fury. But Fury's public profile since the Wilder fight has risen dramatically. Like people are talking. Yeah, because people are talking about Fury now, and Eddie Hearn will have nightmares at night thinking about how much he would have to pay Frank Warren and Tyson Fury to have a unification fight at Wembley. It would be millions. It would be way over the amount.
They was hoping Wilder made like work of Fury and done and dusted, get him out of the way, then they can get the negotiations back on, and then Hearn and AJ can call the shots. But they were hoping.
They were hoping it was. It's backfired completely because they waited around. They didn't want to commit to the fight. Now Fury's gone and done a job on him. The worst thing that would have happened if Fury would have got the decision in that fight.
Yeah.
But they're lucky that he didn't, and there has to be a rematch. But the only thing is, it's a win-win situation for Wilder because his profile's grown off the first fight. It's a win-win situation for Fury and Frank Warren because they get another shot at the title and their profile's grown. Anthony Joshua, when I'm reading between the lines and that interview AO in America, when I read between the lines, I don't think they want the Fury fight. They do not want the Fury fight. They want the Wilder fight now because all of a sudden they see what
right. They don't
want. Like I'm just reading between the lines. Like certain comments are like, "Oh no, he hasn't got the belt." The other day, AJ was on American TV saying, "Oh, I don't recognize what a lineal champion is." So AJ's the only fucking boxing fan in the world who doesn't know what a lineal champion is all of a sudden.
No. But Jace, I'll stop you there because I actually agree with that. I
totally disagree, honestly. I thought that was rubbish.
No. Okay, but listen to what his point was. His point was, I know we're going off topic here, but the point was, lineal champion was Lennox Lewis. And I remember that. Lennox Lewis was the lineal champion.
He was.
Yes, and Lennox Lewis retired lineal champion. Okay, then. So can I ask you something? Let's put it like this. Okay, so the lineal champion was Lennox Lewis, and then somehow, some way, it conjured up that it got passed over to the Klitschko. But which Klitschko did it get passed over to? Was it Vitali or Vladimir? I actually think it was Vitali.
No, so Vladimir. So what happened was, so Lennox was the lineal champion. He retired after obviously his fight with Vitali. For me, Vitali, because I was thinking about this the other day. I think someone asked me like, who was a better Klitschko brother, and I've always said it was Vitali. I've always said on the eye test it was Vitali because I thought Vitali was the more aggressive fighter. He was the more powerful fighter.
But I thought he was. You're gone. Carry on.
I thought he was a better fighter. But then when I actually looked at it and looked at their resumes, you actually have to argue that it may be actually Vladimir because his resume is far more deeper than Vitali's. Like, don't get me wrong, Vitali's a great fighter, and I would have picked him 9 times out of 10 against his brother. But when you look at their resumes, Vladimir's got a better body of work.
No, I agree. I agree with that. Resume, cool. But that boils down to opinion. But the fact of the matter is that Lennox retired as the lineal champion. So how does that title get passed over? That's why I'm agreeing with Joshua because it's just been conjured up then. It's the truth.
No, because basically what happened is like, and it's one of those ones where it's in like the boxing fraternity. Basically, what happened? Vladimir was dominating the division, right? He was like, how long was he reigning over the division? Like 10, 15 years, dominant.
No, but Vitali had the belts. Vitali was dominating when they were both fighting, when they were both active. Vitali had more of the belts. So to be personally honest with you, and because Vitali was the last person who fought Lennox Lewis, I would actually pass the lineal championship over to Vitali as opposed to Vladimir. So that's my as part of the boxing fraternity. That would be my own personal opinion. So if Vitali, let's say like a percentage of us thinks that Vitali is the lineal champion, then again Tyson Fury never even beat him either.
I get your point. One thing I would say, so if I remember correctly, Vitali only had the WBC title. Vladimir had the rest of the titles, but everyone thought, just like what I said earlier, that Vitali was the better fighter of the brothers. But if you look at Vladimir's record and the belts that he had the better body of work. Somewhere down the line, and I know what you're saying about it's been conjured up, but there was a point where Vladimir was starting to be recognized as a lineal champion because he was so dominant over the division. He had all the titles and he faced all challengers and dispatched them. You saw the likes of David Hay, Orlando Solis, all them guys stepped in the ring with Klitschko and got dispatched. So for me, at some point, and I think generally he was recognized as a lineal champion. The point I'm trying to make, and what AJ was saying, I totally disagree, is Fury went over to the guy's backyard. He didn't call him to like Newham Leisure Centre or Barking and Redbridge Leisure Centre and say, let's fight here and then give me a better chance to win the title. He went over to Germany to fight Klitschko in his backyard against all odds and wrestled the title off him. So that's why I said like he beat the man. He beat the man at the time. Like, remember, think back, Ayo, to that time in the heavyweight division, right? AJ was just a prospect then. I think the time where when Fury beat Klitschko, I think AJ might have just beat Dylan White, or it was just like still a prospect stage. No one was talking Klitschko's name. No one wanted that smoke. Fury took the risk, went and won the titles, and he released the heavyweight division. It's actually, we should really thank Fury and his work and his performance that night for bringing some new life into the heavyweight division, because as soon as he beat Klitschko and then he got stripped, all these belts became available. All the belts that AJ, if you look at the situation, AJ didn't actually, who did AJ beat to become the champion? He beat Charles Martin. Let's not even get into that guy. He beat Klitschko for the WBA title. But Klitschko was already beaten by them. Fury had already beat. That was Fury's leftovers.
Yeah, but what's happened is Fury's got stripped of the belt. So now the belt's become vacant. So now Klitschko and who was the lineal champion, as we say, was agreed to be the lineal champion. AJ has beaten him, so you can't take that away from AJ. He has actually beat Klitschko. Maybe it was a Klitschko in decline, but he still beat Klitschko because that belt was vacant at the time, because obviously it got stripped from Tyson Fury. So that one you have to give him credit for. Charles Martin, zero credit for. And who was the other? Who did he win the other belt from?
I think he won. I think
Parker.
Parker.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'll give him that victory. He legitimately beat the WBO champion. But don't forget, the WBO champion was actually Tyson Fury until he got stripped. And before that is Vladimir Klitschko. So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes like the waters are muddled, because I saw a Twitter thread the other day, and someone was saying, who's got the better resume? Is it Anthony? Like, it was an anti-Joshua fan, but he was like, his resume is better than Tyson Fury. And today on Twitter, it's been blown up like, who's got the better resume? For me, like, if I'm being honest, I know Joshua's fought Povetkin, Parker, Takam, Klitschko, but if I look at those individual fights for what they are as a boxing fan, and then look at what Fury's done in just 2 fights, for me, Fury's got the better resume, because he beat Klitschko when he was the man in his backyard, and then went to America and should have got the decision. For me, he won that fight and beat the man again. Okay, he didn't beat Povetkin, he didn't beat Parker, but let's be honest, put Parker in with Fury, he's going to get jabbed all night. Put Povetkin in with Fury, he's not going to do anything. put Takam in with Fury. What's going to happen? Like, it's just going to be the same result. So it doesn't, to me, the fact that AJ beat Charles Martin or Dominic Breazeale or Molina doesn't mean that his resume is better. Like, if I look at their two key marquee wins, Joshua's got Klitschko and he's got what? Parker or just say Povetkin. And for me, Fury, he didn't get the decision, but for me, he beat Wilder and he beat Klitschko when they were both the champions. So I don't know. I know we've slightly gone off topic here. Like this is a debate that can rage on, but let's just say that we're giving the comeback of the year to Tyson Fury, and the heavyweight division in 2019 is going to be a cracker. On to the main event. This is the big one, guys. Fight of the year 2018. Overall, the man in the division. Who was your standout fighter in 2018 and why? And over to you, Money Mike.
For me, my fighter of the year, Usyk. I think he's been what he accomplished this year to unify the cruiserweight division, and like we touched on earlier, you did briefly. That's a crazy, mad-ass, dusty, dirty division. There's some savages in there, and to unify the whole division, first man ever to do it, and yeah, obviously knocking out Bellend, and but yeah, I think he deserves to be fighter of the year for me.
That's a great pick. Ayo, who's your fighter of the year?
Yeah, it's got to be out of one of the two Ukrainians, either Usyk or Lomachenko. But again, scary as it is, me and Money Mike, we're best friends today because we're agreeing. I have to agree with Usyk. Again, you know, the unification, and even the fight before that, just looking at Boxing Rec, that Maris Breedis guy.
That was a good fight.
It was a good fight, and he won that on a majority decision. Very, very competitive fight. The guy was undefeated at the time, but he got the decision. Then he goes on to unify the division with Gassiev, which was a wonderful, wonderful fight as well. Was supposed to be competitive, but he took him apart. And then he goes and knocks out Bellend and shuts up Bellend for good. I mean, it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better than that, does it? So, I mean, but again, when I'm judging like boxer fighter of the year, I have to also look. It's sort of like, you know, when they in football where they judge a world player of the year, and it's always Ronaldo or Messi because they just do wonderful things on the pitch, score so many goals, and just do things that people haven't seen before, and it just makes you sit down and appreciate football. Like, that's the kind of way I want to judge this. But so if I was judging it in that sort of capacity, like, it's gonna have to be someone like Lomachenko as well, because Lomachenko, I mean, the things he does in the boxing ring is just ridiculous. Honest to God, is absolutely ridiculous. But because of, you know, he hasn't fought that much this year, has been the level of competition as well is questionable. So I'm gonna give it to Usyk. Usyk is a guy that he's definitely on the up. I reckon that when he steps into the heavyweight division, you know, he's gonna put a cat amongst the pigeons as well. So definitely Usyk is my fight of the year.
Oh, can I just add as well, he'll be my contender as well for prospect of next year as well, to see what he can do on the basis of what Ayo just said.
On the heavyweight division, yeah.
Hey, a quick question. So I chose to watch the Frampton Warrington fight. I didn't watch the Chisora White 2 live. I heard at the weigh-in that Usyk turned up, and there's rumors that Usyk wants to fight the winner. So if Dylan White doesn't get that April 13th fight, Usyk would be happy to fight him or Derek Chisora. What's your thoughts on those potential fights?
Dillian doesn't want none of Usyk, man. He doesn't want that smoke.
I mean,
that's one step. I'm not being funny, but Usyk will destroy Dillian quicker than what AJ did 2 years ago. I'm sorry. That's a world of pain Dillian don't need.
What's your thoughts on that, Ayo?
I mean, I know. I think you called it actually. You called it, Jace. I mean, you said that when we was discussing. I think it was on the last podcast where it was like, "Oh, is Usyk to step? Who would you like to see?" And you said you wanted him to actually see Dillian White, and I said, you know what? I want to see him baptized with Povetkin. You know, Russian versus thing. But you called it, and you know what? 100%, that's a good fight, but I have to agree with what Michael just said. I mean, Usyk will take him apart. I mean, Dillian White is improved though, and Dillian White has that knockout power, but
that's a whole different level.
I still think
a whole different level.
Usyk will take him.
Dillian will get fucked up. That's it.
Usyk will take him apart. And the thing is that Dillian White's a big heavyweight, but he's not the biggest height wise. I mean, he doesn't give much away in height wise. Like the thing about with Wilder, Fury, and Joshua, if you notice everything that they've got in common is that they're all over 6'5".
They're giants.
They're giants. I think Joshua is what, 6'6".
Yeah.
Wilder's
Fury's 6'9", and he's 6'8".
6'9".
Yeah, Fury's 6'9". Yeah.
They're massive guys. But then you've got Dillian White, who's nice and puny at 6'4", which ain't small. But I think Usyk is about 6'3". So when he bulks up and everything, they're going to be similar size, similar height, probably similar reach. So the advantage, the physical advantage, won't be there. So I just feel that I wouldn't say won't be there, but won't be as pronounced as if it was going against Fury or Wilder or Joshua. So I still think Usyk takes Dillian White apart.
That's a workout. That's not even a fight.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise that I agree unanimously, and we can officially announce that Usyk is BusyBee Boxing Fight of the Year 2018. I mean, I've been big on, like, I was trying to dig out like the previous the messages I posted in our WhatsApp chat when I was talking about Usyk when he won his first title against Slovakia in Poland. And like, I've been big on Usyk for ages, and like as soon as he entered the World Boxing Super Series, I knew what was coming. Obviously Gassiev was a tough test, but to your point, Ayo, the way he just schooled him, it wasn't even funny. Like, you saw what Gassiev done in previous rounds, and then Usyk just gets it and just toys with him, just like jabs him all night, like, and makes him look amateurish. The Bradis fight was a great fight. I think Bradis actually has been the closest to beating Usyk. That was a razor thin fight, obviously in Latvia. What I really respect about Usyk, though, and I was just looking at his box rec just to kind of refresh my memory, but if you look at his record, like he's been to like Germany to fight Huck, he's been to Latvia to fight Bradis, who was the WBC champion. He went to Russia for the final to beat Gassiev. He came to Britain to fight Tony Bellew. Like, he went to America to fight Michael Hunter. Like, he's a road warrior. Like, you tell him where to turn up, he turns up, and he will do the rest. Like, he will show you. He will show you what time it is, and the way he dispatched our good friend Anthony Bellew was perfect. I mean, that just made my night. I'm still waiting for payment on that from Idris's mate who was talking a good game.
Easy money.
Yeah, so Idris, if you're listening, please tell your boy, like, we need that payment. But yeah, I mean, for me, Usyk, Fight of the Year, the skills, the body of work. I think him stepping up to heavyweight, I've been seeing this for a long time. In the Olympics, in the amateur scene, he fought at heavyweight. Anthony Joshua, so in 2012, when Usyk won the gold medal, he was at heavyweight. Joshua won gold medal at super heavyweight. There's concern. Well, actually, a lot of Joshua fanboys, a lot of Wilder fanboys say that Usyk's too small for the division, that obviously the giants are too big for him. But I think he will close that gap in skills. This guy is a heavyweight who moves like a lightweight, bundles of stamina, angles, footwork, timing, just like, he's a complete fighter. And he showed he's got the power against Tony Bellew as well. So
I know it's not no coincidence, but didn't they say that about same thing about like Iron Mike Tyson like 20 odd years ago, and look what damage he done. And I think out of his all his career fights, I only think that 3 of them was about his height. He knocked out Bone Crusher Smith, who was like 6'8", Trevor Burbick, who was like 6'7", Pinkland Thomas. They was Jesse Ferguson. they were like all tall people, and Tyson just took them apart with just power and skill.
These guys, like, the thing is, like, I know the point that they're trying to make, that, with the likes of Joshua and Wilder, say these guys are too big, blah, 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 blah.
But they're not in the same class as the heavyweights.
But they're not, exactly, and they're not as, like, look at what Ortiz, you saw that fight firsthand. Look at what Ortiz was able to do to Wilder to cause him that much trouble.
Yeah.
Usyk is a better version of Ortiz. He's more mobile.
Mhm.
He'll give you more angles. Like Usyk, I can't stress enough like how skilled this guy is. And like I would love to see him in the ring against Joshua. I would love to see him in the ring against Wilder. I would love to see him in the ring against Tyson Fury. I think that's a more interesting fight. But I just think like the footwork, the angles, like do people really think that Joshua's just gonna step in there and try and bum rush him? Like it's not gonna happen. Like it's just not. I'm sorry, all these Joshua fanboys who think he's just gonna step in the ring and then it's gonna be like a cruiserweight for a heavyweight. Like Usyk, if you saw in the fight against Bellew, he actually looked pretty big. He blew up pretty big. He looked like the full blown heavyweight in there. Bellew's the one that's been campaigning at heavyweight, and Usyk looked like the bigger guy. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how he does in the heavyweight division. I think that he could have the same success that Evander had stepping up from cruiserweight to heavyweight. I think he could become a champion. I think he could give any one of the champions problems in that division.
Before we go, I just want to just chip in, for Stinker of the Year. I think this one got overlooked, but I know we gave it unanimously to Okoli, but I'm not saying this because he's Nigerian and that he's my homeboy from Hackney or whatever, but we forgot about Billy Joe Saunders.
Oh yeah.
I'm so sorry, but
or should we say Billy Blowing Saunders?
Yeah, I mean, he had a mare of a year. I mean, with the crackhead thing and then the PED thing, man, he's got to be up there. Just as a side note for Stinker of the Year, that's all.
Yeah, that actually, I did. Let's give a shout out to Billy Joe. I mean, he had 2017 was it the end of 2017 that he beat Lemieux? It was right at the end.
Yeah, right.
And really, all we wanted for Billy Joe, and what I wanted. Yeah, I wanted him to kick on. I know what happened. Obviously, he was pining for that Triple G fight or the Canelo fight. Didn't get that fight, but I still thought that he could have taken on Jacobs. He could have taken on one of the Charlos, and yeah, he didn't. And obviously, he got the fight against Andrade, which I was looking forward to. Two skilled fighters. And then obviously the PD controversy. So yeah, I think he runs a Cody close. I still think a Cody shades it though, because just the amount of hugs that he gave out this year, like I think he just tips the balance for Stinker of the Year. Just before we go, and it's been a really good pod today. Just before we go, I just wanted to give everyone a chance to just call out what one matchup that they would like to see in 2019. If you New Year's wish in the boxing world, what one match do you want to see and why for 2019?
I'll start with that. I think I've said it already, but it's got to be Khan and Brook. If it doesn't happen next year, I swear to God, everything that I said about Khan, I'm going to retract.
Yeah,
he's getting to the point where it's getting beyond the joke now. Like, if I hear that Khan has made a fight with Terence Crawford, I swear to God, that's it. I'm done, because that's his last fight with Matchroom, and it has to be done. I mean, me and Mike have been arguing about this fight for a year, right?
Yeah,
we've been arguing.
It needs to be settled, man.
I think he can chip in Idris with that as well. I mean, we have been actually, like, all of you. I've been against all four of you for a whole year about this, and I really want to see this fight, and I really want to get this done. I really want to get really want to get it settled. So
we've got our bet at you, man. We've got our bet.
Yeah, we've got our bet as well, which is still on hold and pending. The fight hasn't been made yet, so we don't know. I've even forgotten how much was the bet again.
I think it was 50 or one off, something like that.
There we go. We don't even remember because it's been so long.
Yeah, we'd have to check the pod. I'm sure definitely sure it's definitely a 50 or a one or.
One of the two. But yeah, that's the fight that I would like to see made.
Yeah, on that. So there's been a lot of talk that Khan is going to take that Crawford fight, right? And Brook came out the other day, or it was a couple of weeks ago actually, and he said that he said to Eddie Hearn's face, he said that Amir Khan's been taking him for a mug, and it seems like he has. I think he's strung Matchroom and Sky along. He's talked a good game, and he's probably promised them, I'll take that Brook fight. And now he's in a perfect position where he doesn't really have to, and he's out of contract. So Khan's played Eddie Hearn and Matchroom for a fool, because. And I
was checking their net worth the other day on a random one, and do you know Khan has earned so much more in his career than Brook?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it is
Yeah,
ridiculous. So Khan is in such a wonderful place right now financially that he doesn't actually need the Brook fight. Like Brook is desperate for the fight, but Khan isn't. So it's just a big mess.
Yeah, Brook's in a really shitty situation. I mean, I've said this so many times. If you go back on the previous podcast, like I feel like partly down to him, partly down to his promotional team, his career's been mismanaged. I don't think he should have ever taken that Golovkin fight, and I don't think he should have taken that Errol Spence fight immediately after the Golovkin fight. You know, he took the Sean Porter fight, didn't build on that momentum for like a variety of reasons, and then he was thrown into the Lions Den against Golovkin really because Eubank lost his pencil. So it's just like his career's been mismanaged, and now to your point, Ao, he's at a stage where at 154, well, he's desperate because right at 154, he doesn't want that Jarrett Hurd smoke.
No,
He doesn't want the Charlo smoke. He doesn't want the Erislandy Lara smoke.
He doesn't want any of those fights. No, to be honest with you, he wouldn't. If any of those fights paid more than the Khan fight, he would take it. But they don't.
You think so?
Of course.
No, they don't.
All it is, he's a prize fight. He's just trying to cash out and get the fight that pays the most. Whatever comes up next, whatever pays the most fight, he'll take it. That's what I think is Brook's strategy right now. And all roads leads to Khan. There's not a fight out there that they can make that will be bigger than the Khan fight. That's why he's so desperate. What's the point? He's got two titanium plates in his face. All it takes is one punch, and the doctor goes, "No more boxing," and that's it. You're done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that fight, to your point, is so overdue, Carl Brook. Like it's so overdue. But even if it was announced for March, I don't think it's a Wembley fight. I don't think it's big enough for Wembley.
Can you remember when they were both on that show that used to come on Sky? What was it called?
Oh, Ringside. Yeah, Ringside. Yeah.
Do you know how long ago that was?
Was that like 5 years ago?
That's 2013. We're basically in 2019 now.
And even then, we said that fight then was dragging on a bit.
Exactly.
Bloody hell. The moment that fight should have happened was post Sean Porter.
Exactly.
They should have just made that fight. Amir Khan, I don't know. It's just a very weird situation. I kind of feel sorry for Kell Brook, but then I don't, because he's got nowhere to go. If Khan doesn't take the fight, Khan's in this weird situation where he can go and be an opponent for Crawford. He can go and be an opponent for Spence because he has the name over in America. He's still relevant, whereas Brook can't really do that.
No,
like he can't. So it's a bit weird. Money Mike, who's your kind of one call out for a fight that you'd like to see in 2019?
Well, apart from the obvious, probably maybe. Well, yeah, apart from obviously Khan, Brook, Wilder, Wilder, Joshua. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Triple G, Canelo, the third trilogy, close that chapter once and for all. But then I wouldn't mind seeing Charlo versus Triple G as well.
Yeah.
So if I had to go with one, I'll probably say Canelo and GGG. Simple fact, just to see who's the best pound for pound. But then, yeah, I'll probably say Triple G, Canelo, the three. They've got to do a trilogy. They have to. All the great fighters have had a trilogy. Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, all them boys had the trilogies. So, yeah, I think they got to get a trilogy once and for all.
No, I think that's a good shout. My pick, so I had two. So I was actually a couple. So I would like to see Charlo, Jamal in with someone meaningful. I know he had the fight with Matt Korobov the other day. His brother lost, and that fight, the Korobov fight, was actually pretty close. I would like to actually see him in with like a Danny Jacobs, or someone of that ilk, just to test him. I think he needs to step up in the middleweight division. The two fights that I was going to call out. So the first one, Crawford Spence, but I don't think that's going to happen in 2019. I think there's two. There just seems it's just annoying. All like boxing politics. This is why like I give credit to UFC. I know UFC gets a lot of stick and it's a lot of things, but because you've got one umbrella, these fights get made. In boxing, it's like too much politics. You've got Bob Arum and Al Heyman, and it's just too much politics. So that's a fight I'd love to see in 2019. I doubt it's going to happen. The one that I think is more likely for the back end of 2019 is Furman Spence. I want to see that fight. Obviously, Furman's coming back against, was it Josecito Lopez or someone like that in January. but I want to see that fight because I feel like Sean Porter won't fight Spence. I feel like Danny Garcia won't fight Spence, but Furman is the guy who beat both of them supposedly. So him fighting Spence is a fight I'd like to see in 2019.
Sure.
Fair dues.
Cool.
Did any of you not see the UFC yesterday, by the way?
No, I was going to call this out because I know you posted in the group in the weekend and I said about like, is he still on drugs or something? Because it actually came out that he was still on drugs, right? Is that?
Yeah. He got moved to California, got moved to Los Angeles and everything. It was a bit messy.
In 6 days.
It was a bit messy. I know it's a boxing podcast and everything, but you guys need to watch that, man. Especially the woman fight, Cyborg versus Nunes.
I heard that was a really good fight.
She knocked him out. They knocked her out in round 1.
Oh, bloody hell.
It was a proper knockout as well. It wasn't even like, yeah. Watch it anyway. Watch it.
Was it a good fight?
It was a good. It was a first round knockout. It lasted 51 seconds, but for that 51 seconds, it was wonderful.
Did Jones win by knockout?
Yeah, Jones won by submission.
Oh, okay.
No, he didn't. He didn't win by submission. He won by like sort of ground and pound, so it was sort of knockout. Yeah, but yeah, it was a good fight. Yeah, that was a good fight. It wasn't as good as the first one, but it was a good fight.
Jones is just a weird one, man. Like I'm a UFC casual. I'm not going to pretend to be like a big fan of the sport, but I like to follow the guys who are like unbeaten with records and stuff. Mm-hmm. And obviously, John Jones was unbeaten for so long. Well, he's still unbeaten, right? And it's like,
yeah.
But
lost, but that was by disqualification.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, how many failed drug tests? Like the guy's not credible anymore. And like having to move the fight from Vegas to Los Angeles, it stinks of a cover up. And it's just like, I saw Daniel Cormier on Twitter saying about he always gets a head start, so alluding to like the drug situation. But I heard that he called out Cormier post fight, right?
Yeah, he called out Cormier for post fight, but that's not a fight I want to see. He's beat Cormier twice, so what's the point?
I know, and it's weird because he's beat Cormier twice, but like, was he on the juice?
Because Cormier talks the most. He talks the anyway. It's a boxing podcast, so I don't want to get into all of this because I always go on.
Well,
watch the fight.
Cormier won the heavyweight title, right? And I know he
vacated it.
He vacated. Oh, okay.
He vacated it. So now John Jones is the undisputed light heavyweight champion. Cormier vacated for some shady reason or something like that. So. There was a title in the fight. It was a vacant title in the fight on the line yesterday, and John Jones is now the champion. So that's why he was calling him back, saying, "Hey, you want your title back?" and all this kind of shit. Like, come fight me and all this kind of shit. So, yeah.
He probably got paid by Dana White to vacate to make John Jones look a bit decent. Yeah. UFC business. But I think that's about it for the boxing stuff. I think we covered pretty much everything. It was a really good show. Is there anything else anyone wanted to shout out before we sign out?
No, man, all good.
No, I'm good.
Cool. So yeah, signing off 2018. Thanks for those who tuned in. I did see a couple of viewers coming in during the show, which was good. Please support the channel. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Obviously, if you're new, we'll be back in 2019. Hopefully, doing some more shows, more consistency once a month. But we're out. Thank you for listening.
Laters.
Les.